Technology has transformed the landscape for crisis management, presenting us with real-time obstacles and challenges that not only do you need to be aware of, but that you actually need to be able to manage and overcome while you simultaneously manage the actual incident that occurred. And today, it's only in being able to do both of these things that you will successfully manage a crisis in this day and age. Why? Because the longer you take to respond to an incident, to a crisis, the more control of the narrative you lose. The more susceptible you become to things like rumors and speculation and media sensationalization and criticism. Because there's this expectation that has actually turned into a demand today that organizations will be ready and willing to respond to a crisis within moments from it occurring. And that response won't only be timely, but it'll be sincere and transparent. So in a world of increased risk and seemingly impossible expectations and demands, how do you prepare for success? And better yet, how can you take these real-time demands and actually leverage them to your crisis management advantage? The answer has always been by being prepared. But today, the level of preparedness has drastically increased. It used to be that smart organizations would take the time to draft a crisis management plan, and that plan would then be put on a shelf, and leadership would have solace knowing that if a crisis were to strike their organization, they would grab for that plan, they would follow it, and it would lead them through to crisis management success. But today, the second you go to grab for that plan, the story is already miles ahead of you. Stakeholder expectations and demands and inquiries are already flooding in. So while the exercise of planning remains to be invaluable, the choice, the decision to solely rely on that plan actually puts you at a disadvantage today. Instead, the objective, the goal, needs to be to implement a crisis-ready corporate culture. Imagine this. Imagine that in the breaking moments of a crisis, leadership knows that their entire team, from department to department, from region to region, will instinctively know exactly what their roles and responsibilities are, what's expected of them both by leadership and by the stakeholders that they own relationships with, and how to meet those expectations in real time. Imagine leadership knowing that the entire team is prepared to work together to successfully manage the crisis. In order to get to a level of that instinctive preparedness that puts you at the advantage that you need, we need to stop approaching crisis preparedness as a plan that sits on a shelf and start approaching it as a program that is embedded into the culture of the organization.